All right, welcome back, guys, to this mini series during the bye. I guess my thoughts during the bye, if we want to call it that. Before we get into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let's dive in. So, in case you missed the first video, you can check that out. It is on the channel. It is for the offense, and there were 5 thoughts that I was pondering with during the the bye week about the offense. So that's what we'll be doing today, just on the defensive side. And I know you guys have already wanted this, so surprise, this is what the plan was all along. So let's start off with the first thing. How long is Aaron Donald going to be a Ram? That's a thought of mine during the bye. Look, the reason I'm thinking this is because Aaron Donald, his contract ends in 2025. I don't think people are realizing that, okay? His contract is over in 2025. So first off, he's shown 0 signs of slowing down. I know he's 32. He's shown 0 signs of slowing down. There's no need for him to retire unless he wants to. It's a dangerous sport. I wouldn't, ever fault anybody for retiring from the NFL. But at the same time, he doesn't have to retire. He's playing at a very, very high level. He's still, in my opinion, the best pure rusher in the league, probably the best defensive player still in the league, and one of the best players in the league, regardless of position, maybe even still the best. He's just shown no sign of slowing down. And just imagine what he could do if he had, more edge presence helping him out. Keep in mind, he's also rocking with some younger guys, Bobby Brown III, who, of course, is injured, but he'll be back soon. He's rocking with Kobe Turner, who is a late day 2 pick. So definitely some youth, but at the same time, Aaron Donald has just been unbelievable. Is there another deal maybe in place? Like, do we see that? I mean, is it just he's calling it quits after the 2024 season? Do we get another deal? Could the deal affect the Rams cap? Could it make it easier on the Rams, add more cap space, more flexibility? Who knows? Another part of this thought is, the Rams without Aaron Donald would have to vastly change their defensive philosophy. A lot of the things that they're able to do is because they have Aaron Donald, okay? Because they know they're going to get that consistent pressure up the middle. They can use him on stunts. They can put him outside. He is absolutely a game changer. So if you don't have him, then there's going to be a problem. You're going to have to change up how you play defense. They can't necessarily have the star. They can't necessarily play how they play. Be a little bit more aggressive. They would have to change a lot because Aaron Donald makes it a lot easier on defensive coordinators to game plan for any offense. So that's something to keep in mind. Number 2 here, who is the heir to Aaron Donald? So we know Aaron Donald won't be around forever, but at the same time, I was just saying he's nowhere near the end of his career in terms of production. So if he wants to retire on top, that's different. But what is the future when Aaron Donald does hang it up? What does that look like? Who is the heir to Aaron Donald, and could you find that in this offseason upcoming? Let's discuss. So does he live on the roster currently is the first question you want to ask yourself in regards to this thought. Byron Young would be the only option. I don't believe he's the heir to Aaron Donald. Okay, I think Byron Young is awesome. He was a fantastic pick in the 3rd round. Very excited about him. I think he needs another guy. I think he's a 2. I think he's closer to, a DeMarcus Ware than the Von Miller, which isn't a bad thing. I think he's closer to the Leonard Floyd than the Von Miller with the Rams. I think he is a, very, very high quality sidekick if you can get the right pass rusher on the other side of him. So that leads me to my next question here in this thought is free agency. Chase Young, what does that look like? Chase Young's a free agent. Brian Burns is a free agent. You look at Josh Uche, who I've brought up many times, Josh Allen. Could any of those guys be the heir to Aaron Donald's throne, if you will? And honestly, I would say yes. I think all 4 of those names, Young, Burns, Uche, and Allen could. I think Uche is a little less sexy than the other ones. Brian Burns, massive name. A lot of Rams fans talk about him. Chase Young, massive name. A lot of Rams fans talk about him. Josh Allen is a massive name that no one really talks about. I have not heard one Rams fan really say that they wanted Josh Allen. I don't think people realize he's available. Now, these are UFAs, unrestricted free agents after the season, okay? Does not necessarily mean Brian Burns isn't re-signed. Doesn't mean Chase Young isn't re-signed by the Niners. It doesn't mean Josh Allen doesn't come back to the Jaguars. It does not mean Josh Uche goes back to the Patriots. It just means that as of right now, these guys would be available. So do any of these guys make sense? I absolutely believe so. And to be honest with you, the one that makes the most sense is Chase Young. If we're being honest here, Chase Young makes the most sense. He's the youngest. He could play the run very well. He's really good, obviously, as a pass rusher. I think the injury risk is there, so that's something to keep in mind. But Brian Burns is another that the Rams have tried to trade for. So one would have to imagine if Brian Burns does hit that market, the Rams are going to be very serious suitors and contenders for his services because they were willing to offer multiple first-round picks. And that's something that I don't think Burns is going to forget about. Could help them in negotiations because it's something where, hey, okay, I feel wanted. That's great. Josh Uche, okay? Again, less sexy, right? But guy that can drop in coverage, played kind of that hybrid linebacker at Michigan. He has just gotten better and better each year in New England. And, I think when you look at just how much the Rams want to drop, linebackers into coverage, I don't know if that's consistent with Aaron Donald, if they change up their philosophy after Aaron Donald hangs it up or whatever. But Josh Uche, as of right now, I think would be the best fit because I don't think he's going to cost as much as the other guys. At the same time, I think he could be as productive, if not more productive, because he can do it all. He's not elite in everything. He's very, very good at everything, and I think that's important. And then Josh Allen is an elite pass rusher, elite athleticism. Obviously, he's not as good of a run defender as some of the other guys and definitely what you would like, but he can be that franchise player. And so I definitely think all four of them, with Josh Uche a little bit less on the heir to Aaron Donald's throne side of things, makes sense. How about a trade? Okay, maybe not the heir to Aaron Donald, but very interesting one here. Free agency in 2025, this player's going to hit, and we'll find out. Are the Eagles going to keep this thing going, or are they going to do what the Rams did and kind of blow it up if, they get the Super Bowl or not? We're going to see. 2024, they had to pay Jalen Hurts, okay? Do they win the Super Bowl this year? Do they not win the Super Bowl? How does, the future look? And the reason I say that is because there is an edge defender who's a outstanding run defender. He can help you, obviously, as a pass rusher, just really, really efficient and consistent in Josh Sweat out of Florida State, who they got in the third round. Sweat is an absolute stud. He's turned into a superstar, very, very quiet superstar, I might add. And he's a free agent in 2025. So maybe the Eagles decide to kind of shed some cap in the offseason since they have to accommodate for, the moves that they made. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, and maybe they trade him. Could be an option. As aside from Josh Sweat, I really don't see too many options here in the trade market. Unless the UFAs, the Burns of the world, the Young, the Uches, the Allens get signed and traded. That's the only other thing I could see. Then we move on to the draft. This is interesting because this isn't just going to be edge defenders. See, the heir to Aaron Donald, you need to be a disruptive player. You need to be a cornerstone piece for a defense. What you do in the trenches helps everyone around you, and furthermore, helps out your corners. Now, look, are the Rams necessarily going to draft anyone in the first round to help their defense out over a left tackle? Probably not. And would I want them to? Probably not. However, there are some really good players, and I want to just give you an idea of who could potentially take over as the heir to Aaron Donald if they went in this direction. First off is Laiatu Latu. So a lot of UCLA fans watch this channel, obviously. This guy has a toolbox of pass rushing maneuvers. He's number one in PFF grades, number one in PFF pass rush production grade. He's sixth in pass rush pressures. He is not a bad run defender at all. He's an elite pass rusher, and he has the potential of dropping coverage. I look at Latu as a guy guy that just simply put, he's going to work out in the NFL. They're very, very just, it would be very hard to believe that he wouldn't work out in the NFL. The Rams could draft him. I'm not saying they will, but they could. He'll be available probably in the top 15, top 10, maybe he goes top 5. But Latu is the first name. Second name is Penn State's Chop Robinson. In no order, by the way, except for Latu. Robinson is a rare athlete, still developing as a pass rusher, and he's got the massive long-term upside. So this is, again, somebody who, you're talking about more long-term, heir to the throne, maybe. Florida State's Jared Verse is a FCS to FSU first-round prospect. Very consistent, world-class, work ethic. I mean, this guy is just exactly what he represents, what We Not Me is. Then you have Alabama's Dallas Turner, who's been mocked to the Rams in multiple mock drafts, is the likely best option, as a 3-4 pass rusher in the draft. The reason I say that and why I say 3-4 is he has speed, he has power, but he was 11th, according to PFF, in coverage. And when you look at it, he's had 72 snaps dropping in coverage. The Rams have been using their outside linebackers to drop into coverage more than any season in, Sean McVay's Rams tenure. So I don't know if that's going to be the case moving forward, but if it is, Dallas Turner makes a lot of sense there. And then Washington's Braylon Trice, high motor, good speed to power, good run defender. He's developing his pass rush repertoire. What I'll say about Braylon Trice that really excites me is somebody that could be available in that second round for the Rams if they decide not to go quarterback and they go left tackle in the first round. And Braylon Trice is somebody that is really well-rounded. Like he's still developing his pass rush moves, but at the same time, he can work and he's going to be really good against the run. And that's something that the Rams could definitely use. Now, does Braylon Trice really feel like an heir to Aaron Donald? No. These are just some names that I threw in there. I would say Chop Robinson's, you talk about his just long-term upside potential, things like that. Maybe Latu, yes. Verse potentially, Dallas Turner potentially. And then I don't want to go without mentioning Jerzon Newton. Now I watched Jerzon Newton play against Kansas. Illinois played Kansas earlier in the season. He blew me away. He is an absolutely dominant interior defensive lineman. I could not get enough of watching that guy play, even though he was roughing up my Jayhawks, but dominant in the backfield, 34 pressures from the interior spot, leads all of college football. He's 5th in PFF grade, plays the run as well as he rushes the passer, and he's on the smaller side, 6'2", just under 300 pounds, but who cares? We're talking about Aaron Donald, who was on the small side, and the big reason why he fell to 13th overall in the NFL draft. Jerzon Newton, could you imagine that defensive line with Newton and Donald, and to replace Donald and still have that interior problem up the middle in Newton? And let's not just gloss over the fact that, yes, I'm not saying I'll draft an interior defensive lineman in the first round, but let's not gloss over the fact that Chris Jones still exists, right? You can still find Dexter Lawrence's and Quentin Williams and guys that can still be elite and change the game. Even though Aaron Donald is different, he is one of one. If you lose Aaron Donald, you still can replace him with somebody who's just a tier below, and you can still find that guy. We've seen what Chris Jones has meant to the Chiefs. We've seen what Quentin Williams is doing with the Jets, Dexter Lawrence. These are guys that can generate double and triple teams just like Donald. They're just not as dominant as Donald because no one is. And that is the important thing here. And I think Newton is going to be a very, very good player in the NFL. I'm thinking it won't be long before he is a top 7 interior defender in the league. And then Miami U's Leonard Taylor III. He's probably the best pure pass rusher from the interior defensive line. Dominant in the trenches. He's 2nd in pass rush grade per PFF. He's another guy to look out for, maybe a late first, early second. But these are options. Like when I think of, the first thing I said, how long is Aaron Donald a Ram? The second thing that I'm thinking of is who is the heir to Aaron Donald? And I just named a bunch of names. Doesn't mean any of them will be, but they are worth mentioning. And then the third thought is, look, we talked about left tackle being the biggest need on the offensive side. There's not a bigger need on the defensive side than the edge defender, okay? They did a great job finding guys like Byron Young, finding Kobe Turner in the trenches, and I'm excited about the long-term development potentially of O'Shawn Mathis in the 6th round, but they still need another guy. Michael Hoyt's not bad. He's a UDFA that they've developed into a starter who probably shouldn't be starting, but he's a quality player nonetheless. This is good, but you need another guy. But you don't need another guy to just be a guy. You need another guy to be the guy, okay? Because when Byron Young continues to get better, he could be a 1. But you don't want to draft basing Byron Young as the 1. You want to go and find a guy who can be a 1 with Byron Young. And, I think Latu, Chop Robinson, Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, Braylon Trice, those are all 5 guys I think that could be that in the draft. Again, rehashing it, free agency, Chase Young, Brian Burns, Josh Uche, Josh Allen. And this is where things change, because I was talking about the idea of potentially adding, the heir to the throne of AD. However, now we're talking about just upgrading the edge spot. And so I look at other guys in the free agency pool: Dorrance Armstrong Jr. from the Dallas Cowboys, Marcus Davenport, from the Vikings, Daniil Hunter from the Vikings, and Carl Lawson from the Jets. Again, Josh Sweat trade, but I think this is really interesting here because the Rams have multiple, places that they can go. There are definitely a bunch of options. They're going to have plenty of cap space to, go about this route. And it's just something that seems very intriguing. And guys, this is surface level, base level draft coverage. I am going to be doing way more of a deep dive. Don't worry. But we're still in November. So I wanted to, make mention of these names. That way you can keep your mind on them, an eye on them, all that. But things are going to change. I mean, the 5 that I just mentioned won't necessarily be the first 5 that are taken in the draft. Draft process kind of shakes everything up. And this year, just to kind of throw some news out there you might not have heard, that's really fascinating. As somebody that's attended 3 Senior Bowls, I think this is very fascinating. The NFL is now allowing juniors to compete in those senior activities, those, college all-star games, if you will, which could change the game forever. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But it's just important to remind you, I mean, Latu, Chop Robinson, Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, Braylon Trice, those are guys that, those are names that you should know. And obviously we'll have way more coverage moving on, but that's not the point of this video. So we move on to number 4. The number 4 thought that I had during the bye about the defense. Is there any chance the Rams use the excess cap that we keep talking about to address positions they typically don't spend a ton on? And those 2 positions are inside linebacker and safety. The Rams have let guys like Corey Littleton go in the offseason. They let John Johnson go before bringing him back. And this has been a pattern. They don't really sign safeties. So inside linebacker, let's start there. Here are the options that are available after the season, guys that become, available. And there's some big names here, folks. The Rams can really kind of change the outlook, their strategy. I mean, it's really fascinating because some of these names include Patrick Queen, Devin White, Willie Gay Jr., Devin Bush, and Josie Jewell. And I think all of those guys could be impact players on the Rams. Now, you have Ernest Jones. You have to be aware you're going to have to pay Ernest Jones at another point. So would you bring in another inside linebacker? Do you look at Roseboom as that much of a liability? Do you like Roseboom? Do you like him long-term? Do you not like him? Do you like Jake Hummel? How does that position work? Do you maybe move Quentin Lake there? Does Quentin Lake play safety? I mean, that's what you kind of have to figure out, because if not, if you justify, hey, we need another legitimate inside linebacker that can cover and, can really help us in coverage, because as of right now, just don't feel that way. And there's some guys there. I mean, Queen is a very big name. Devin White's a big name. Willie Gay Jr., a lot of athleticism all over the board. Josie Jewell seems like the best fit, but the big names, Queen, White, and Willie Gay Jr. and Devin Bush, they could all help in coverage. They're all very athletic sideline to sideline linebackers. So that is definitely a question that I'm asking myself, a thought that I'm thinking of. Like, could they actually go out and go against the grain? They did it before. It only lasted 1 year, but they did sign Bobby Wagner, so who knows? Safety. Okay, this is interesting because there are some safeties here that I think could help the Rams immensely. I think they would make things easier on the corners. I think it would be better in the run game, better run support. These guys are Geno Stone, who's having a great year with the Ravens, finally getting his opportunity in his last season. Jordan Whitehead of the Jets. Cameron Curl, who in my opinion is a top 10 safety in football. He's outstanding in the run game, and he's gotten better each year in the pass game. When you look at Cameron Curl, he comes from the Commanders. The Commanders did just trade away Sweat. They did just trade away Young. Are they going to just let him go? Are they going to bring him back? I don't know, but he's available. Grant Delpit's having a really good year for the Browns. Xavier McKinney from the Giants. Antoine Winfield Jr. from the Bucks. Julian Blackmon from the Colts. Jeremy Chin from the Panthers. That can kind of be that linebacker safety hybrid. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who is coming off an injury with the Detroit Lions. Jordan Fuller, do you bring him back? Do you re-sign him? Ryan Neal, who had an outstanding season in coverage for the Seattle Seahawks. That linebacker safety hybrid has not had the best season in Tampa. Do you bring him in and try to see if it would work there? And then Kyle Duggar, who I've brought up multiple times with the New England Patriots. Could the Rams look at this direction? I don't know, but I think it's definitely worth posing the question. We don't know how the next era of Rams football is going to go. Based on what we've seen the Rams not spend a lot of money on safety and linebacker, except for that 1 year with Bobby Wagner. So they would be deviating away from something that, is a staple on how they build teams. Another thing here, and this is the last one. It's fifth, and it is re-sign Ahkello Witherspoon and give him a running mate who can force turnovers and play off him. Are the Rams going to do it? Are they going to bring back Ahkello Witherspoon? A lot of people thought that he was just kind of a mercenary, going to just play one season, get his career back on track, which I don't think ever was off track, to be fair. Thought he played really well with the Steelers, doesn't get enough credit. Thought he played really well at the end of his tenure with the 49ers, but Ahkello Witherspoon continues to get better. I've talked about all season. He's better than I thought he was going to be, and I thought he was going to be a top 20 corner. He's arguably been one of the best corners in all of football, and that's without much of a pass rush. That's without a running mate alongside him. He's not playing next to Jalen Ramsey. He's not playing next to a Trayvon Diggs. He's not playing next to Trey White. He's not playing next to anybody that you would consider to be elite. He's been the guy. He's been the number one. He's been the Revis Island. That's the thing that gets kind of lost on people. He's been essentially the Darrelle Revis, and there hasn't been an Antonio Cromartie to play off him. The Rams' corners haven't been bad, but the problem is that if he doesn't come down with an interception, if he doesn't come down with a turnover, if he doesn't make a play, the other side's not really doing anything. They're not really generating any turnovers. They're not using ball skills. They're not breaking the game open. And that's a problem, because when Ahkello Witherspoon is your kind of lockdown, shutdown on an island corner, the way he's been, then you need the other corner when he's targeted to be able to take advantage of that, play off him, and take some interceptions to the house. This team definitely needs some interceptions. This team needs turnovers to generate that, needs to generate more possessions in plus territory for the offense. And so that's why I think signing Ahkello back is a no-brainer. 3 years, $36 million, 3 years, $40 million. I don't know, but bring him back. That's a no-brainer. Just like Kevin Dotson in the last video, bring back the other Steeler because he definitely, he fits this. And he's given the Rams a lot of opportunity. He's given them a lot of flexibility to use the safeties how they want to use them because there's not safeties really hanging over the head of Ahkello Witherspoon. He is fine playing on an island, which gives those safeties, frees up those safeties, and allows them to blitz. And that's what we've seen more. As Ahkello's gotten better throughout the year, we've seen Raheem Morris have more of those safety blitzes. So, the draft. Who's the running mate? Assume Kello re-signs. Who's the running mate you're going to put next to him? Well, in the draft, Kool-Aid McKinstry, who's probably the top corner, I would say, by quite a margin. He's more of a shutdown, lockdown, in-your-face number one corner. So would he be a great pairing with somebody like Ahkello? I mean, I'm sure he would, but, this is somebody who only has 2 interceptions in his career. And he's going to be a first-round pick. And will the Rams draft a corner in the first round? I don't know. Cooper DeJean, very well-rounded game. Versatility to play anywhere in the secondary, whether it's safety, whether it's, slot corner, outside. Top ball skills, 7 interceptions. Lower grade by PFF, not quite the number 3 that McKinstry has. Clemson has a corner by the name of Nate Wiggins, who can lock down any wide receiver that you ask him to put him on. He struggles in run support, has ball skills, and has 2 interceptions. Again, good, but at the same time, can he play off of Ahkello? Then you have Kalen King, scheme versatile, elite athlete, great recovery speed, 3 interceptions. And then you have Newton from TCU, who is a transfer from Louisiana Monroe. He has 7 interceptions. He hasn't given up a touchdown this year. He's physical and instinctive. Makes you wonder, right? Again, base level draft stuff, not getting too much into it. Just, I've been watching tape and threw it in there. Newton is incredibly interesting on the other side of Ahkello, because he has that mindset, I'm going to take the ball, I want to run it back for 6. He's got that pick 6 mindset. He's not afraid to make a big play. Again, I think the Rams really need that, especially when they're not getting the pass rush they're getting. They're not really getting a ton of turnovers. So I think that's important. But that's just the draft. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Cooper DeJean, Kalen King, Nate Wiggins, and Josh Newton. There are other guys. Don't get me wrong. TJ Tampa out of Iowa State's very intriguing. He's a name to keep an eye on. But I'm not trying to name everybody. So then free agency comes along. So you already signed Ahkello in this, scenario. Do you bring in Jalen Johnson? The Bears, are they going to bring him back? I don't know. I don't love the way things are going there for the Bears and Jalen Johnson. So if he's available, you have that, back-to-back really big size on the outside, and you have guys that can come down with the football and make plays. Not just Ahkello, but also Jalen Johnson. And they don't have to be exclusively the number 1. Ahkello doesn't have to be the number 1, neither does Johnson. They can kind of both play off each other, and they're both very good. So that could be an option. And then L'Jarius Sneed, who I think is almost the best fit here. The reason I say that is because Sneed, we've seen, has a nose for the football. This guy wants to make a play. He is a game breaker. He is a playmaker, and I think he'd be perfect on the other side of Ahkello Witherspoon. Now, the better option long-term is probably Jalen Johnson. Ahkello's 28, 29 years old, around that. So you have to factor in he's not going to be around forever. But Jalen Johnson being 24, 25 years old, now you can have him with Ahkello on, a 3-year deal, and he can kind of grow into being the guy, after Ahkello. So I think that's an important thing there. And then a trade. Again, not saying this is going to happen. I'm just listing all of the possible avenues that this team could go in. And my number one thought is, if you re-sign Witherspoon and you're going to get him a running mate, what does that look like? And the trade would be either one of these 2 guys. I'm not saying it's 100% guaranteed, but how about AJ Terrell, free agent in 2025? The Falcons have to make a decision. Are they going to keep him? Are they going to, rock and roll with AJ Terrell, or are they not? He has the same agent as Jalen Ramsey, which could mean that he doesn't go to the Rams. I don't know how that whole thing went down. But he has the same agent as Jalen Ramsey. He could push him out. He could say, no, I want this. And then the Falcons don't offer it. And then he leaves. So that becomes an intriguing little situation. Now, of course, with Desmond Ridder on a rookie deal, and he's not even the starter right now, they're not paying top dollar to a quarterback. I don't know if that'll change or not. But because they're not paying top dollar, they could bring back A.J. Terrell pretty easily. Now, could A.J. Terrell request a trade? Would he want to get out of there? Potentially. And if so, I think the Rams would be a good suitor there. Young corner, free agent in 2025. There's a trade option. Another one is Tyson Campbell from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Josh Allen's a free agent. Okay, what's the deal there? Like, are they going to bring him back? Are they going to sign Tyson Campbell? How does this work? Well, the Rams already went and got a Jacksonville Jaguar corner in Jalen Ramsey years ago, not that long ago. Now, Tyson Campbell. Could that be an option? Who knows? But those are some options that I threw out there. Of course, the in-house. You have Kobe Durant. Does he step up? He's had some injuries this year, just hasn't been his year. Does Darion Kendrick take another step? Maybe next season. I don't know. Duke Shelley's probably a one-year deal. Maybe he gets brought back, but is he like a number 2 corner? I don't know about that one. Then Trey Tomlinson. I mean, hey, is this the gem? Is this the gem that the Rams drafted in the 6th round? Is he going to end up being like Puka Nacua on the defensive side of the ball? Who knows? There are some options. There are. But I expect the Rams, if they bring back Ahkello Witherspoon, which they should, to go out and get another corner. That's what I expect them to do. But those are my 5 thoughts going in, during the bye. Aaron Donald, how long is he a Ram? Who is the heir to Aaron Donald after he goes and, retires off into the sunset? Edge is the biggest need for the defense. Any chance the Rams do go after an inside linebacker or safety with the cap space? And do they re-sign Ahkello Witherspoon and give him a running mate that can force some turnovers and play off him? I don't know. Kind of similar to the last video I posted, also in length, very similar. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, in case you guys didn't get that. So you can follow me at JKBogan on all social media. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please be sure to drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. Very curious to get your thoughts. Trust me, guys, the draft content is going to be so much more in depth. This is nothing compared to what I can do, this upcoming offseason. So that's going to do it. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks.
Start playing Pick'em or Weekly Fantasy for any sport today, Jake. Users will receive a 100% deposit match up to $100 if they use promo code OTE at sign up. Start playing Pick'em and Weekly Fantasy Football today with Underdog Fantasy.
Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.